I want an ice cream bar so badly. They have them downstairs in the lobby of this hotel, but I'm not going to do it. I'm using restraint. In better news, a certain podcast host that you are listening to right now has the #1 score on a local Bram Stoker's Dracula here in Bangor, Maine. You're listening to Coast to Coast Pinball. Thanks for being here. Episode number 7, Coast to Coast Pinball. Here we are. It's July 18th, 2013. How you doing? I'm still in Pacific time, so it's 1 in the morning here on the East Coast. I'm in Bangor, Maine. I'm about as far away from home as I get. And I'm Nate. Welcome to Coast Pinball. I'm a man out of quarters. And on that subject, I'm literally a man out of quarters. The most ridiculous situation sort of developed over the last few days. I couldn't even believe this. In my adult life, I've never completely run myself out of money or cash in a way, and I did it on this trip somehow. I had a check coming that I really wanted to get into my bank account. So I left my debit card with Teresa, and I said, hey, when this check gets in the mail, I want you to go to my bank, use my debit card, deposit the check so I can get it in my account, and I do all the rest of my stuff online, moving money around for various things. No problem, right? Well, I had $60-some in my wallet, and the day before I left, I owed somebody at work $60. So I threw 3 20s on his desk and said, here's your money, we're all good, from a golf game we'd played. Well, I had about $4 or $5 bills left after that, spent them on who knows what. And I get out here to the East Coast, and in my head, I'm thinking, no problem, I'll get some cash. Well, I don't have my debit card. I left it with Teresa, so I can't get cash. I travel on my business card mostly, and I have personal credit cards if I need to, buy something personally. But I want to play pinball. And pinball machines, last time I checked, don't take credit cards. So I was driving around the last couple of days, and I was talking to Teresa, and I'm like, how am I going to get any money? What am I going to do? And she said, well, just go to your bank. And I said, yes, exactly. I will just go to my bank. I've got my credit cards, my identification. I can get money out of my checking account by going to the bank. No problem, I said, while I was in the Boston area. So as I'm driving up through New Hampshire the last couple days, I started, getting on my phone and looking for a Citibank location. There weren't any. There are no Citibanks in, northern Maine, or I guess it's eastern Maine, or Maine, period, at all. None. There are no Citibanks in the state of Maine. I cannot get any money. I have no cash. So it's been annoying because there's been some great stops and places along this route of work that I've been doing where I could have stopped and played a half-hour pinball here or there. There was a place called Fun-O-Rama. How can you not want to go to a place called Fun-O-Rama? Well, I couldn't because I didn't have any money. I'm literally... I've called my future. I'm a man out of quarters. So I got to my hotel here in Bangor pretty early. I was done with work by 5:30, 6 o'clock today, which is early for me. And it's still, sunny as all get out outside. It's summertime, full effect. I'm the only man not on vacation in Maine right now, by the way. Everybody I see is in flip-flops and shorts and having a good time and has the family and they're going crabbing or eating lobster or whatever they do up here. And I'm not. I'm working. But I want to play pinball. So I get on my pinball locator here on my trusty iPhone. Which one do I use? Let's get this right. I use the Pin Finder app. So I have the Pin Finder Pro, and I search the local area, and literally almost on top of the blue dot on this app that represents me in my hotel, there's a little pinpoint on the map representing a pinball machine that's there to be played. So I clicked on it, and it's at a place called Movie Magic Cinemas, which is literally right behind my hotel. I could probably hit it with a Frisbee out the window. And I look, and they have 2 games listed on the app here. They have Bram Stoker's Dracula and Star Wars Episode 1. Bram Stoker's Dracula, I'm like, hell yeah, love that game. Star Wars Episode 1, not so much. Not my favorite game. I can dig some Revenge from Mars. I can't really get into Star Wars Episode 1. We'll talk about Pinball 2000 at a later date. So anyway, I still haven't fixed the problem that I have no money. I have no actual money to go play these games. And I've been like brainstorming all day long. I said, well, thinking, what if I go to like a store and say, hey, can you run my credit card for, $20 more than whatever it is I'm buying and just give me the cash difference? I know they're probably not supposed to do that, but I thought probably if I tried enough times, somebody would do it for me. Maybe a little independent shop would do that. But I'm thinking, man, I'm going to look like I'm up to something. I even thought about going to a restaurant and eating and telling the waitress, like, hey, charge me for something or do something, or I'll tip you a bunch of money and trade you for your tips in cash. Like, I'll tip you $20 on this meal, and you give me $20 cash or something. Some way to get money. And nothing sounded really good. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. I've been throwing change in my suitcase and briefcase at various times for the last year. I've got to have something in there, right? And in my head, I'm thinking I probably have a couple dollars in quarters, and I'm going to get to go at least spend 5 minutes on this Bram Stoker's Dracula game. So I literally turned my briefcase upside down on the bed in my hotel, and change just starts falling. And I realized that, yes, as Teresa tells me all the time, I'm a pack rat. I throw stuff in places and hoard it. And quarters fall out, nickels, dimes, but the best part of it is 5 $1 coins, these new presidential $1 coins fall out that I got from the toll booth between me and the Inland Empire in Southern California when I went to pick up my Twilight Zone. I took the toll road and paid with a $10 bill. I think it was a $5 toll, and it shot $5 coins out at me. Brilliant. So now I've got some cash money. And I literally walk over to this movie theater, go in, say to the guy, hey, can I get a bunch of quarters for these coins? And he kind of looks at the coins like he's never seen them before. Maybe they haven't made their way up to Maine yet. But he says, yeah, sure. So I got $5 in coins plus about $3 of just other quarters that had fallen out of my briefcase. So I'm gold. I got $8. So I walk into the arcade, and they actually have a pretty big arcade at this movie theater. Lots of arcade games. But there it is, Bram Stoker's Dracula. There was, however, no episode 1. Awesome. In its place was a Gottlieb Surfin' Safari. Exactly. Silence. I don't even know what to think of that. I'd never seen one before. Or if I had seen one, I just ignored it because it kind of looks like a children's game. It's kind of silly. But I was there to play Dracula. Love Bram Stoker's Dracula. So we're going to jump right into highlights and lowlights talking about Bram Stoker's Dracula, specifically the one at the movie Magic Cinemas in Bangor, Maine. Highlights and lowlights. So Bram Stoker's Dracula, this is a Williams game. This game was released in April of 1993. I think they made 6,801 units is the official tally. You'll see noted different places. The game was designed by Barry Orsler. Now, Barry Orsler is not maybe as famous a name as a Steve Ritchie or a George Gomez, but Barry Orsler designed Doctor Who. And I want a Doctor Who, right? In fact, Doctor Who was the game right before Bram Stoker's Dracula, if I'm remembering that correctly. I might have that turned around. But they were consecutive titles for Barry Orsler. It's a 2-flipper game. There's pop bumpers in the middle. There's I think two main ramps, three ramps in the game. One thing you'll notice right when you look at a Bram Stoker's Dracula is the theme obviously is Dracula, and if you've seen the Bram Stoker's Dracula movie, you'll kind of know the whole setting. But there's this blue color that's the main color of the playfield that fills a lot of it, and it is a fairly open lower playfield. And the blue color's kind of neat. And this particular game, at first glance, was in pretty rough shape. Tonight that I was playing, I would say that's definitely a low light of this game. It was pretty worn. There were definitely some issues with the game that I'll get into. But the game in general, I like the look because it doesn't look like a lot of other games. In my head, I used to always confuse it with Tales from the Crypt. I guess both just having a sort of horror theme. But it's pretty different. It has lightning flippers in it. There are like molded plastics on the left side and then again on the right side, kind of above the right flipper. And I don't even honestly can't tell you what they are. I think they're like buildings of some sort, maybe the tombs. I'm not totally sure what these plastics are supposed to be. I think that's definitely sort of a low light of the design. That it didn't do a better job kind of showing you what it is. Now there is the molded coffin up in kind of the back right of the playfield, where you can load, into the coffin multi-ball. And it has two lights on top of the coffin that tells you what's loaded in there. So Metallica, you're not the first one to do coffin multi-ball. Dracula had you beat. So I like the look. It has sort of definitely a 90s vibe to it, in that certain kind of early 90s vibe. It feels a lot like Doctor Who in some of those games. I know that the game is very similar to the layout a game called Bad Cats that Orsler also designed. Some people have pointed that out if you go read reviews of the game online. It's very true. It has an auto plunger, plunges the ball up. It's a time-based skill shot sort of deal where you're trying to hit the middle of 3 targets based on the time that your ball hits a drop target. You want it to be lit on the video, on the DMD. So I know that I've played these games before where you could time it pretty good every time. You couldn't on this game. It was almost just dumb luck, because the ball launch seemed to launch at different forces every time. So that is what it is. The highlights to me, though, is the vibe. I like the call-outs of this game. I like a lot of it's from the movie. It has kind of a neat, dark vibe that comes across as you're playing. I really like it. I wish the sound had been up higher on this particular game I was playing. I like the game really centers around multi-balls. There's 3 different multi-balls available in this game. There's the castle multi-ball, which is sort of based off the left ramp shot, which is the main ramp of the game, which will remind you a lot of Doctor Who if you're a Doctor Who fan. There's mist multi-ball, which is the absolute highlight of the entire game, we'll talk about in a second. And then there's coffin multi-ball. What's neat about the multi-balls, which I think is a total highlight of Dracula, is you can stack them. You can actually get them going concurrently. So if you're in one of the 2-ball multi-balls and you hit another one, open another one up, you light it and launch another multi-ball, you'll get that one going too. And this is where you can really get some big points and huge scores. I mean, I've seen massive scores on this game before. So I think that's neat. I think I like the idea that once you get into multi-ball, there's still other things that are kind of going. And the game does a fairly good job at keeping track of what balls are where. Mist multi-ball is probably the signature. It's not really a toy, but it's the signature, gimmick to the game, as I would say. And what Mist multi-ball is when you light Mist multi-ball and you hit the shot in the back left, there's it's kind of a drop down, not a drop down target. That it's more of a hole that you shoot the ball into, like a sink target. And when Mist multi-ball is lit, a ball actually trails across the playfield. Obviously, a magnet is below the playfield that walks the ball across right in front of you like it's magic. It's really awesome. If you've never seen it, you got to go see this. Even look it up online. It is so neat. And I think standard, it starts out on the right and moves kind of diagonally down and to the left. Tonight, the game was having some ball issues, and it started from the left until it finally got caught and got confused. But the whole concept here is you start Miss Multi-Ball, the ball starts moving across, it loads you another ball to your left flipper, and then to actually start the multi-ball mode, you have to hit the ball off of its trail. You have to knock it off the magnet, and then you have a 2-ball multi-ball. I mean, it's one of the coolest things ever done in pinball, I think. It's just really awesome. The first time I had it going tonight, I actually hit the ball, freed the ball that was on the magnet, but then my ball got stuck on the magnet. So you actually have to hit it with enough force to bounce it off. It's just it's really neat to see in action. It's very well executed. That magnet did wreak some havoc on balls throughout the games. I noticed I had some balls sort of either get stuck over to the left where the magnet was, or get pulled. I could feel the ball a few times, and it wasn't spin on the ball. It was definitely the magnet affecting it, as far as I could tell. So it was kind of a low light. The playfield had some wear tonight for sure. That wasn't great. The ball issues was the real problem. About 4 or 5 games in, and I was really bad at this game at first. I haven't played this game in a long time, and it was set really flat. Like, I don't mind a flat, slower game, but they get to a point sometimes where they're so slow that it feels like an old EM where you're sort of waiting. And I'm kind of an impatient player a lot of times, and I just want to flip the ball and go, go, go till I get settled in and then really try and score. And it was driving me nuts, and it took me quite a few games to get the timing down. But something happened when I hit one of the multi-ball modes and drained balls where the game got confused as to where the balls were, and then every time I would launch a new ball, it would automatically launch a second ball right behind it, and then when the first ball drained, it would think my turn was over, so it wasn't realizing it had two balls on the playfield, and it was just a mess because, it would start the game and shoot two balls out, and when I'd lose one, it would go on to ball two. And then I was concerned with trying to hold it. It was just not good. So I probably wasted a good $2 of my precious quarters playing this game that was a mess. And I finally sort of gave up on it. And yes, I stepped 3 feet to the right and played a game of Surf and Safari. We'll talk about that later. But I walked around a little bit after playing for a while. I actually looked up the rules to the game on my phone because I wasn't sure about a couple things, and I really was trying to figure out. I couldn't remember because there's two different features in this game. One is the rats and one is the bats, and that's kind of confusing. And you get the bats by hitting the coffin ramp a certain amount of time. Excuse me, the castle ramp a certain amount of times, and you get the rats by hitting the altar shot, which is on the right middle side of the playfield. I think 3 times in the way this game was set up. Hits the rat mode, and then that's a timed countdown mode where you're trying to hit them all. So I actually did fairly well at that finally. Kind of got that going. This game has a video mode that's actually pretty good, and I don't know if I'd ever played the video mode in this game before. I must have, because it's fairly simple to get, or maybe I had never played a game where it was so easy to get. On the right orbit of this game, there's 5 insert lights that spell out the word video, which I don't love that because I'd like it to be incorporated into the theme a little bit more. I don't like seeing the word video on the playfield of a Dracula themed machine, so that's a low light. But the video mode itself is a definite highlight. Once you light all those and then hit the shot, the right orbit shot one more time, the drop target that's sort of in the back of the right orbit, which was also where you start the game when you start plunge each ball, the drop target drops down, and I don't think you can really see this, but that drop target goes down and the ball drops into the subway, and you start the video mode. And so the video mode is just real simple. You have 2 guns, or at least you have a gun maybe, and you can shoot left and right with the flippers, and you're looking out into the distance on the DMD screen, and there's tombs, or tombstones, and werewolves charge at you. And you got to shoot them, and they come slow at first. Like one will come right, then one will come left, and then a little quicker, and then maybe 2 come from the right or 2 come from the left. And you have a certain amount of bullets, and I think they give you 5 more bullets than you actually have werewolves coming at you. So you can miss 5 times and still complete the mode. What I was glad I had looked on my phone and read about, though, in the video mode was the closer the werewolves get to you as they approach you and get bigger on the screen, the more points they're worth. So it's your instinct to want to shoot them as soon as you see them off in the distance, little small werewolves, but it's actually better for your score to let them get right up on you. And now that gets increasingly harder to do, and they will just get up on you as they get faster. But I did use that to my advantage throughout my gameplay tonight. It was letting the werewolves kind of get up on me a little bit. That sounds odd. But anyway, so definitely highlight for the video mode. That's really cool. It's a game that there's a lot of threads on Pinside about Bram Stoker's Dracula. You'll see it abbreviated BSD all the time. I think that people have realized that there is a lot to this game and that the shots are sort of fun. There's actually a ramp that's just to the left of the right orbit that just returns the ball to your left flipper, and I forget what they call that, and I actually can't remember what it does right now. That's a hard shot because it's this tight shot off the left flipper where you have to hit this kind of small opening that has a lightning bolt insert in front of it, and I had a really tough time hitting that tonight. Now, granted, these flippers were not adjusted very well. There was definitely a little bit of a bump, when the balls came down the in lanes. They didn't smoothly roll onto the flippers. They kind of jumped a little bit. countering that was, like I said, the game was set pretty flat. So once I realized the timing of everything, I could actually deal with the bump if it wasn't moving too fast. If the ball was moving real fast, it would bump, and I needed to flip pretty quickly, or it would actually bump off and straight down the middle. But once I got the timing down, I was able to let the ball roll down to the edge of the flipper a little bit better. Still a hard shot to hit, though. Pretty neat. I wish the casket did more. I guess I'm just spoiled playing Monster Bash and seeing Dracula pop out of a casket. You want that pretty badly in this game, but alas, he does not do that. The end game on this is to kill Dracula. I never got that far. But I did set the number 1 score. Not the grand champion score, but I'm sure that guy cheated. I set the number 1 score. I got a game where I think I was at 260 million on ball 1, which there's probably some Bram Stoker Dracula owners out there who are laughing at that number, thinking that's not very much. But for me, it was very good. And on this machine, I eventually topped out at, I don't remember what it is. I should look at my photo that I quickly posted on Twitter once I did, because I was so proud of myself to see what my actual high score was. It was, let's see, 381 million. So that's not super high for this game, because you can really rack up the points with all the multi-ball stacking. And once you complete the rats and the bats modes, you get pretty big numbers, and those bonuses get added under your score at the end of every ball. So I think I had on my big game like a 21 million point bonus for bats and like a 15 million bonus for rats, and that got added in 3 times because I had completed all that on the first ball. So each time I lost a ball, and I think I had 2 extra balls throughout that game. So 381 was pretty good. I finally got Castle Multi-Ball on my high score game. Finally, you have to hit that castle ramp a certain amount of times, hit the shot, and get Castle Multi-Ball. It's kind of the hardest one to get, I think. And I immediately lost all 3 of my balls. Like, just badly lost all 3 of my balls. It wasn't even good. So, it was a lot of fun, though, to just get and play some pinball, because I've been driving around and working all hard and just doing a podcast and reading Pinside and just wanting to play some games. So, I really enjoyed playing Dracula tonight. I would love the game. It's shot up in price, though. Like I was saying earlier, there's a bunch of threads. People are realizing this is a cool game. If you look back in like historical threads from 3, 4, 5 years ago, lots of these games were sold for under $1,500. I think it was fairly easy to find a maybe a routed game that was still in fully operational shape. You could probably easily get one for 15. Probably could find one for 13. Now I just don't see finding a nice one for under $2,000. That's just what they look like they're going for now. And I don't blame it. I think this era of machine is going to grow in value just because there are some really good games that play really good, that still have lots of features and feel, sort of modern. These aren't late mid-90s games like Medieval Madness, Attack from Mars, but they're closest thing to that without being that. So, I think that's why you're seeing Doctor Who go up. You're seeing this go up. But, pretty awesome. The guy that designed this, Barry Orsler, the guy designed Gorgar, Pinbot, Space Shuttle, Comet. Some big names. He did Junkyard later on. I think Junkyard was the last game he did for Williams. So my hat's off to him for sure. Definitely the game overall to me is a highlight. Love it. I wish it was in a little bit better shape. I wish I hadn't had the ball issues, but that's okay. So had a lot of fun with that last night. So, lest I not mention the other game that was there for me to play at the movie Magic Cinemas, it was only $1.25 to play, and I spent exactly 25 cents playing it tonight. Surfin' Safari. Surfin' Safari is a 1991 title by Premiere under the Gottlieb trade name. It was funny. I didn't know anything about this game. I literally had never seen one. I think they built about 2,000 of them, so this wasn't a high-run game or anything. It's actually kind of a, it has an appealing look to it. It has sort of a grid of target lights on the front of it. I think it's a water park theme, I guess. It has slides or attractions. And as I was playing it, I was in my head thinking, what does this game remind me of? this reminds me of something. I'm like, oh, this reminds me of Super Mario Brothers. That's what it reminds me of. Well, when I got back and did a little bit of, digging on this game, because I really knew nothing about it, it was designed by the same guy who did Super Mario Brothers, John Norris, who also designed Street Fighter 2, which I owned for quite a while. Surf and Safari had quite a few less built than, games built off of those, but same era, teed off, Cue Ball Wizard, what was the other one? There's another one right in that same era. Operation Thunder is the other one I'm thinking. After that, Rescue 911, Freddy, Nightmare on Elm Street, Shack Attack. Yay, Shack Attack. So Surf and Safari is definitely not an A-list. Probably not a B-list game. We're dipping down into the C and D-list games. So we're going to go ahead and give this the D-list wonder treatment.
D-list wonders.
So I played for a while. They've got some big colorful ramps. The ramps are super, super wide. This would be a great first pinball for young kids. I see why it's in a movie theater. It's awesome for kids. It has an alligator with sunglasses is the main toy in the middle. I don't think he does much. There was a bank of targets in front of him. I shot the slides. I missed the multi-ball or there's a 3 million point target. I never got multi-ball to go on. I did win an extra ball at one point. I don't even know how I did it. The plastics look like they would be absolutely impossible to replace. This is sort of like a poor man's, and I mean poor man's Whitewater. I mean, that's a stretch. I'm trying to be nice here. It's colorful. It has the word bonus across it with like the bank of targets like I was telling you about. So basically the whole goal is you hit each water slide type thing enough times that you progress the row on the grid up till the final one where you get a bonus off of that. That's what I got on Surf and Safari. I played it once. There was only 2,000 of them, so I have to give it a shot. I would think if you had like young kids, like 5 to 10 years old, and you wanted to have a pinball machine that they might be interested in and wouldn't be either scary or complicated or anything like that, this would be a great one to track down and find, because it does definitely have that youthful vibe to it. So there's the D-list treatment on Surf and Safari. Lots of contact, some great tweets. I really appreciate the guys over at the Game Room Junkies tweeting about Coast2Coast Pinball today on Twitter. That was very nice of them. Josh over at Pinsoul also retweeted that tweet, so that was kind of nice. Two podcasts that I'm a fan of, both kind of popped up and mentioned the Coast2Coast Pinball today. That's sparked sort of a downloading frenzy. Had a lot of downloads today. Very cool. Got some nice emails that we're going to go ahead and go through here in the mailbag.
Check the email.
We'll hit this one first because it's topical. It's going on, and we'll do a live Museum of Pinball Kickstarter look-in while I'm reading this one, if I can do two things at once. This email is from Billy in Northern California. He wrote, I totally agree with your thought that the Museum of Pinball Kickstarter must have a backup plan. Why don't they just sell 100 of the machines to make up the $150,000? Billy, that's a great idea. I had that thought actually after the last podcast. Why don't they sell 100 of the machines? So I did some math. I broke out my trusty calculator. Realistically, they want more than $150,000 to make this thing really go. $300,000, I think, is the original number they were looking for, and that's actually like their, I don't know what Kickstarter calls it, something like their stretch goals, I think. 250, 300, 400, yeah. So let's say 250 is the number. Well, so I did some handy-dandy math, and I divided $250,000 by 100. So if they sold 100 of their 500-plus machines, they would have to sell them each for an average price of $2,500, which, if you look at the list of what they have, easily doable. Realistically, they could probably sell 70 of these machines and get their $150,000 going, and they wouldn't need the Kickstarter. So I think that's a great idea there. They have doubles of a lot of high-end machines too, which I think selling, a portion of those machines is is way less of a hit than not opening or delaying their opening, whatever it may be. Currently, with 20 days to go on Kickstarter, they have 157 backers who've pledged a total of $17,604. So, like I said in the last episode, we're sort of trending towards not making the $150,000. I really would like to see them when this is over, and obviously they've already got it up and they're going to see it through. If this doesn't have a big late push and they don't get it, sell off a portion of the machines. Sell a portion to somebody on the East Coast that might want to open something like this and ship them out. Sell somebody to somebody in San Diego. Bring them to my hometown. Sell some machines. Get this thing open. Let's see if it happens. I want to be proven wrong. I want to see that this thing is viable and can happen. So, Billy in NorCal, as he puts it, I agree 100%. Sell a portion of these machines. Get this thing going. Awesome. Next one. Great work. I really enjoy the show. How are you doing so many shows so quick, Eric in Colorado? I travel a lot, obviously. That's kind of the whole gist of this, is I'm on the road. I'm a late night type of person. The lovely Teresa goes to bed early, and I can either play video games, browse the internet, or do a podcast about something I love, which is pinball. So I'm just doing the podcast. It's just me running my mouth. I figure eventually this will be boring to people and you'll stop listening, but that's okay. For now, we got some people listening. So thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it. Let's see. We got Joe in Chicago wrote, if you tour the country so much, why don't you tweet where you're at and get some Pinsiders to invite you to play at their homes? And then he'd let me know that he was in Chicago, and if I was in Chicago, because I think I mentioned I had a Chicago layover in the last episode, that there was probably some people around there that would have home games to come play. I emailed Joe back. Awesome idea. It's a cool idea. The problem I run into is a lot of times normal hours for most people are daytime or evening if they get home from work. I'm oftentimes working till 7, 8, 9 o'clock, or having dinner with my business clients and doing all that professionally stuff, pretending to be a grown-up. So I would just hate to intrude on people. I've been invited by actually multiple people now to come see their collections, and I will do that. I absolutely will do that if the timing works out right. A lot of times I don't know where I'm going to be every night. I kind of travel by the seat of my pants, so it's hard for me to... I don't want to eat up somebody else's time. I guess is the best answer I have for that. It's a great idea, though. If anybody wants to invite me over, I'm coming over. Joe has, and Joe doesn't realize it. I will be coming over someday. I'm going to take him up on that. Chicago seems like it's probably the mecca, since that was ground zero for pinball in this country. There's probably a lot of people with machines there. I think that's probably a pretty neat place to be. I scoured around some of the Craigslist ads and local, wanted lists up here in Maine to see what was going on. There was a funny, let me see if I can find it real quick while we're recording here, a funny posting in the Craigslist in Maine. Maine only has one Craigslist. It's not broken down by cities. I guess that means low population. When you just search general and search for pinball, I thought this was pretty funny. On June 10th, somebody posted, Pinbot pinball machine, $5,000, Southwest Harbor. And this is all caps, so I guess he's yelling this at everybody. Williams pinbot machine. This was the first, quote, modern-style pinball machine produced by Williams in 1985, I believe. I don't know about that. I've had this since the mid-1990s and have played hours on the machine. 99.99% working order, no damage, reasonable offers will be considered. I thought that was kind of funny because that's a lot of money for a pinbot, obviously. Well, later that day, somebody replied to him. Actually, it was the next day on June 11th. It's regarding pinball machine. He just put, here's a link to Mr. Pinball classified ads where you find pinbots for their typical price range of $1,000 to $2,000. Here's Boston Pinball eBay summary, which shows pinballs sell for $25.50 max. So I thought that was kind of funny because I think a lot of us see those ads on Craigslist or eBay from guys who either don't know what their games are worth or are just putting them out there hoping on a flyer that somebody really wants that game and doesn't know how to shop around, and just calls up and says, "Hey, you're asking $5,000, but would you take $4,700?" I think he probably would. So I thought that was funny that somebody actually replied with that sort of analytical answer of, well, instead of, it's better than what I've seen in some instances where people, call names and hate on people for their ads. But I thought that was pretty funny because I know a lot of us are thinking that. So that's good stuff.
Forum static.
So forum static tonight. It's like a train wreck on Pinside right now with a couple of posts now that are regarding a guy in Portland and his company called Strikers Arcade. And I've read the threads, and to summarize what's going on here, and I don't even know if I should be talking about this on the podcast, but it's like pretty good reading, so I'll just go through it real quick. Basically, this guy became a Stern distributor recently in Portland, and a couple Pinsiders have tried to do business with him or have done business with him, including someone who, local in the Portland area, canceled a Metallica limited edition that he had originally, I think, decided he was going to purchase from someone in Colorado. So he canceled his Metallica Limited in Colorado and tried to give the local guy in Portland, the Strikers Arcade, the business, and it didn't work out well for him. Strikers Arcade didn't get the games they thought they were going to get. I know there was a lot of problems with Stern cutting back the numbers of limited editions that distributors got. I think there was some Metallica fan club issues where they came on and said they wanted games, and games were sold that way, so distributors didn't get what they originally thought. But the problem was the way this guy at Strikers Arcade apparently handled everything that went down. He, kept putting the guy off, not wanting to refund the money right away, didn't have the money, tried to sell him another limited edition that he found or bought somewhere for a higher price. It was really bad. So the guy got fed up finally and posted on Pinside. And then out of the woodworks, a few other people popped in and said they had really similar bad experiences where this seller was lying to them constantly about what was going on, and just over and over and over. And then it took a turn, like a dramatic turn, for even the worse, when somebody said, yep, look at this guy. Apparently he did this in the auto industry too. And they linked to this ripoff report website where this guy, and I'm not going to say his real name on here, but this seller had a history of ripoff reports reported against him in the auto industry and selling parts online that he never shipped, and Australian buyers sending hundreds and hundreds, thousands of dollars, and then this guy just never ships them and just disappears. And it was just sort of like worst case scenario, and I think it sort of taught you maybe a quick lesson on don't go chase the absolute cheapest price, or buy from people you know and do good business, find recommendations. Our little industry here is pretty small, and I will think that bad seeds will be quickly outed for what they are. Well, tonight when I logged on and was reading the forum a little bit earlier, the guy from Strikers Arcade actually started his own thread basically saying, look, here's my deal. I've had a bad history. I served 4 tours in the Persian Gulf. I had cancer. I survived it. I went to jail. I'm back. I'm trying to do good. I've done some bad things, and I'm learning quickly that I can't do these things, and I just want a second chance. Which it was quickly pointed out that this would really be more of a third chance at this point. But it only happens in these small little industries where someone's just getting ragged on and ripped on, and then that guy posts looking for sympathy and trying to explain himself. And I feel for anybody who's had a rough life too, but he goes out of his way to say that he's not making much money and he's trying to do this for love. But what I would say is find another way to be involved in the pinball community other than buying very expensive thousands and thousands of dollar wholesale machines and then selling them for what by all regards is a pretty low profit margin. So that would be my advice to the owner there at Strikers Arcade. Maybe I don't know if he has an arcade in Portland or if he's trying to have an arcade in Portland. Maybe do that. Maybe host a podcast. I'd listen to it, absolutely. Maybe start with parts. Maybe find some pinball mod guys who are looking for someone to distribute and promote and sell parts. But man, jumping right into Stern distributorship, that just seems like a deep swimming pool, and you don't want to mess up because you could drown pretty quickly. Which sounds like this guy's already had some of those problems. So that's kind of what I was reading on the forums tonight. So we're going to wrap this up. This episode 7. It's amazing. We got 7 of these in the can already of Coast to Coast Pinball. I love the feedback. It's really cool. I criticize away. I may not listen to you. I may ignore you. But please criticize away. You can email me directly at coast2coastpinball@gmail.com. That's coast, the number 2, coastpinball@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter. It's at C2C Pinball, the letter C, the number 2, the letter C Pinball. And there's a Facebook page. I slack on the Facebook page, but search for Coast to Coast Pinball on Facebook. You'll find us. And I appreciate it. And we're gonna be at the Pinball Wizard Arcade in New Hampshire this weekend. We being me and the quarters that I'm going to get when I go to Citibank in Boston on Saturday morning. And I'm going to play some games. So I really appreciate you listening. I hope you guys are all having a good time out there, enjoying life, playing some pinball. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks a lot.